So if you haven't watched Spider-Man Brand New Day yet, don't worry, there are no spoilers in this video. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the movie, what I like it, what caught my attention, and what I think about this new capture of Peter Parker. So let's get into it. After Spider-Man No Way Home, I think a lot of people had the same question. Okay, what happens now? Because that movie really felt like the end of an important part of Peter Parker's story, and Brand New Day had a difficult job. It had to continue the story, but at the same time, it had to make Peter feel new again. And honestly, guys, I think it does that pretty well. One of the things I like it the most about this movie is that it really feels more focused on Peter. And I know that sounds obvious. It's a Spider-Man movie, but in the last few movies, guys, especially because of the MCU, Peter became connected to so many things, other heroes, the multiverse, big events, a lot of references, and this movie feels different. It feels like the movie is saying, okay, now let's go back to Peter Parker. And I really like that, because at the end of the day, what makes Spider-Man work is not just the suit. It's not just the webs, it's not just the action scenes, it's Peter Parker, it's his life, it's the struggle of trying to have a normal life while also having to save other people. And I think that side of the character is very important in this movie. Peter is older now. He is more experienced, but that doesn't mean his life is easier. Actually, I think one of the most interesting things about the movie is seeing that being Spider-Man didn't solve Peter's problems. He still has problems, he still feels alone sometimes, and he is still trying to understand where he belongs. And that makes the character feel much more human. And talking about Tom Holland, guys, I think this is one of his best performances as Peter Parker. Maybe because now he gets to play a more mature Peter. In the first movies, he had a much younger energy. He was still learning how to be a hero. Now, there is a feeling that Peter has already been through a lot, and you can see that in Tom's performance, especially in the quieter moments. Sometimes he doesn't even need to say much. You can just look at him and understand what Peter is feeling, and I think that works really well. Another thing I really liked it was the tone of the movie. It is still fun. There is still a lot of humor. Peter is still making jokes while trying to survive completely crazy situations, but there is also a more serious side. And I think that balance works because Spider-Man needs to be fun, but Spider-Man also needs heart. And I think this movie understands that. And now, guys, let's talk about the action, because obviously I can make a Spider-Man video without talking about the action. The action scenes are really good, and one thing I like it is that they feel very focused on Spider-Man himself. We see Peter using his powers, his webs, his agility, his Spider-Man sense, his movement through the city, and it gives you a really nice feeling of watching Spider-Man. There are moments when you are just watching the screen and thinking, yeah, this is why I love this character. And I think this is one of the movie's biggest strengths. It reminds us that Spider-Man doesn't need to save the entire universe to be interesting. Sometimes we just need to see him in New York swimming between buildings and trying to solve a problem. And that's enough. And I think this is especially important for this new capture because after so many movies, so many characters, and so many huge stories, there is always a temptation to make everything bigger. More villains, more heroes, more universes, bigger treats, more effects, and but sometimes bigger doesn't mean better. Sometimes you just need a good story about one person, and Peter Parker is exactly that kind of character. He can have superpowers, but his problems are still very human. He has to deal with choices, responsibility, being alone, relationships, and the difficulty of understanding what he really wants from his own life. And I like it seeing the movie explore this side of him. I also think it's interesting to see how Peter has changed since the first movies. In the beginning, he was much more dependent on other people. He needed to learn, he needed guidance, he needed to discover how to be a hero, and now there is a much stronger feeling of independence. He knows how to fight, he knows how to use his powers, he knows what it means to be Spider-Man. But knowing how to be Spider-Man doesn't necessarily mean knowing how to be Peter Parker. And I think that difference is really interesting because one thing is saving someone from a burning building. Another thing is figuring out how you want to live your own life. And I think the movie plays with this idea. And for me, that makes Peter more interesting because you are not just watching a superhero facing problems, you are watching a person trying to understand who he is. And that's something anyone can understand, even without superpowers. At some point in life, everyone has to ask, what do I want to do now? What do I want to be? Where do I belong? And I think that's why Spider-Man continues to work so well after so many years. The suit can change, the actor can change, the villain can change, the universe can change too, but this idea is still very good. And here, I feel like the movie understands that. Another thing that caught my attention was Peter's relationship with the other characters. I don't want to talk too much about this because some of these relationships are better when you discover them yourself. But I like the fact that the characters are not the only to Peter move the story forward. They also have their own moments, and that makes the movie feel more human. And talking about that, I also really like Zendaya in this movie. Without getting into spoilers, I think the movie finds an interesting way to work this relationship, and that brings back one of the most important things about Tom Holland's Spider-Man, the emotional side. Because for me, one of the best things about this version of Spider-Man has always been the relationship between the hero and the person behind the mask. You can have a huge action scene, you can have a powerful villain, you can have amazing special effects, but if you don't care about Peter Parker, none of that works as well. And here I felt that the movie really wants you to care about him. It's this balance between the superhero and the normal person that, for me, makes the movie work. And that's why when I think about the best parts of Brand New Day, I don't only think about the big action scenes. I also think about the smaller moments, the moments when Peter's simply living his life. Taking, thinking, trying to figure things out, because those are the moments when you remember that behind the mask there is a person, and that person is still trying to understand how to move forward. And speaking of moving forward, I think the title of the movie already gives us a little idea what the story is about. Brand New Day. It's a new capture, a new opportunity. And I think that fits Peter really well after everything that happened before. He can't stay trapped in the past forever. He has to keep moving. And that feeling of starting again is one of the things I like the most about the movie. Now, being fair, guys, I don't think the movie is perfect. Some parts still feel like a typical Marvel movie. There are moments when you think, okay, I've seen something like this before. And I think that's kind of unavoidable. After so many MCU movies, guys, it's very difficult to watch something and feel like everything is completely different. There is a formula that Marvel has been using for a long time, and in some moments, Brand New Day follows that formula too. I don't think that's a huge problem, but it's something I noticed. I also felt that some ideas couldn't have a little more time to develop. There are some things that are interesting, but I think the movie could have explored them a little more. But for me, these problems don't ruin the experience because the movie has something very important. It's fun. And more than that, it makes you want to follow Peter. You want to know what happens to him. You want to see him grow. And I think that's one of the most important things in a Spider-Man movie. At the end, I didn't leave the theater thinking, this is the greatest superhero movie ever made. No, guys, but I left thinking, I want to see more of this Peter Parker. And for me, that already means a lot. I also think it's interesting to compare this movie with No Way Home because the two movies have very different goals. No Way Home was almost an event. It was huge. It had a lot of nostalgia, a lot of characters, a lot of moments that made fans crazy. Brand New Day is different. It's more focused, more personal, and in a way simpler. And I think that's exactly what the character needed now. After everything Peter has been through, maybe he didn't need an even bigger adventure. Maybe he just needed a new story. A story about him, about growing up, about being alone, about doing the right thing even when nobody is watching. And in the end, I think that's the best part of the movie. It reminds us of something very simple about Spider-Man. Peter Parker isn't special because he has powers. He's special because even with all his problems, he keeps trying to do the right thing. And I think, guys, Tom Holland understands that very well now. He is able to show a Peter who is older but who is still trying to understand his own life. And I think that's interesting because growing up doesn't mean having all the answers. Sometimes it just means learning how to deal with the questions. And I think that's a really cool part of the character. So if you are thinking about watching Spider-Man Brand New Day, my recommendation is go watch it. Especially if you like Tom Holland's version of Peter Parker. If you were expecting another huge MCU event, maybe you will be surprised. But if you just wanted to watch a Spider-Man movie, I think you are going to enjoy it. I did. And now I want to know what you think. Have you already watched Spider-Man Brand New Day? What did you think about it? Do you prefer this more personal side of Peter? Or did you like the previous movies more? Tell me in the comments, guys. I really want to know what you guys think. And if you enjoyed this kind of video, leave a like, subscribe the channel, and I will see you in the next video, guys. And if you are learning English and you want to follow this kind of content too, I'm going to make more video like this. The idea is to talk about movies, TV shows, travel, and other things that I like, but always trying to do it in English in a simple and natural way. So if you are also learning English, maybe this channel can be useful for you. Well guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next video. See you next time and cheers. Bye guys.